welcome to Let's Try Out Lost City of Vampires. This is a small indie game being developed by WRF Studios, and basically how it works is that it's a third-person shooter that is very similar to the Battle Royale games, but on a single-player level where you actually go up against 99 other bots, as opposed to it being like where you're playing against other players and that. So basically just a few things before we get started. First of all, this is not a review or preview, this is a first impressions video only. Second, a copy of the game was provided by the developer for the purpose of this video. Thirdly, this is an early build of the game. It does not represent an actual finished product at all, so how the game will end up when it's done and how it is now could be two completely different things. And finally, this video is 100% unscripted and unedited as per the request of the developer. So we'll have a look at the options first. Right now at the moment the options are actually very limited. You basically can choose the sound options, the graphical quality, which can be low, medium or high, the resolution with the max being 1920 by 1080 at the moment, and then you can also do the shadow quality as well, which is low, medium and high. More options are planned to be added later on, and right now there are two levels in the game. The first is the grasslands, and then you unlock the slums at level 5 by the looks of things anyhow. So let's get started. Hopefully. Okay, so the first thing that I'm specifically noticing is that the camera is actually over the left shoulder of the character as opposed to what would generally be the case where it's over the right shoulder, which is unusual, a little bit jarring actually, because you become so used to it being over the right shoulder that when all of a sudden it's over the left, it makes the camera look a bit odd. But I'm sure it's something that is quick enough to get used to. Glass in all directions. Enemies coming from all directions. Didn't get much of a chance to look through the houses there at all. But right now this is rather chaotic. Visually it's looking pretty good. It seems to be running on the Unreal Engine, I believe, and it doesn't actually look too bad. Even on medium settings it's the actual graphical quality is pretty good, and you know the actual protagonist, he himself is pretty well designed. Kind of a mixture between you know, typical depiction of Van Helsing, and kind of also looks a little bit like Gungrave as well. Okay. So basically, the typical thing with these style of games is the storm's coming in. It has it there in the top corner at 17 seconds, so we need to get within there anyway. Hunter ring, find more ammo. Okay, so basically you can pick up these items that... Oh, that's a major frame dip. Seems to have stabilized a little bit. Basically, it seems like you can find items. The hunter's ring increases the amount of ammo you find, which will no doubt be handy. I'm hoping that there's more than just the one weapon. From the screenshots and that, I've only seen one weapon so far, which is the one that we're using, which is the handgun. But I hope that, you know, there'd be maybe more. I'm sure that's something we'll find pretty quickly. to stay within the boundaries. So far, so good. Enemies seem to be a little bit basic. Their AI is kind of simplistic, as in they just seem to charge towards you. But they do appear to have different characteristics depending on the type that they are. So there's one that appears to explode, there's the melee type that can cast spells, and then there's the general shooter himself. So there's a bit of variety with the enemies, at least, which isn't too bad. It's an interesting. It's an interesting take on the genre. I mean, there's a whole load of possibilities that could be done with it as well, because of the fact that, you know, this is the first time something like this has been done from a single player perspective, so it means there's a ton of potential. From what I gather, plot wise, basically you're this hunter that's sent here to pretty much put an end to a bloodline of vampires, which is what we're in the middle of doing right now. So, you know, there's the possibility there to actually make an interesting plot there too. That's if the developer wanted to, of course, but you know, there is a possibility of even sort of making it story oriented if you wanted to, but right now we're not really finding anything. You know, there's a ton of possibility. I hope that there is more weapons though, because I think that would be a bit of a negative if there wasn't, because it's one of the first things that everyone's going to think, like, you know, what weapons does this game have? And with only there being one, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment if that is the case, of course. Key binding isn't yet implemented. It would be nice. With the way that the keys are right now, actually having the map at the M is off. It would have been much better to have the map binded to the tab key, because it's within the reach of the WASD, whereas with the M key, it's stuck right at the bottom of the keyboard and it's a little bit more awkward to get to. The tab key would have been much handier. But I mean, overall the shooting seems to be pretty spot on. Scope, so I'm guessing that's, yeah, I'll allow you to do that. The shooting seems to be pretty spot on. Hit detection seems to be pretty good. Sound effects have been lost a little bit. No, they're back again now. There was just a drop in the sound effects there for a second, but it seems to be okay now. The AI definitely needs some work. They're a bit too simplistic at the moment, where they literally just beeline you, just go straight directly for you, and you know, I mean, that's fine. It's not too bad. But I think it's a little bit too basic, to the point that it actually doesn't really present much danger when it comes to the enemies at all. Or at least so far, anyhow. I mean, you got the dogs as well. Yeah, there's about 4 different types so far that we've come across. So, I mean, it's a decent enough roster, and I hope that with the level that you unlock at level 5, I'd hope to see, you know, maybe a few new enemies, something like that. But that's something that we're not going to find out in this video. But the general formula is definitely there, and it works. I mean, the further that we go and the closer the storm comes in, the more enemies that seem to be coming towards our direction, which is exactly how it works. That's how all of them work. So it seems to be pretty on track there. And the actual movement of the vampires themselves is pretty well animated. I mean, they kind of, you know, when you see them running across the screen, they look like vampires. So that makes it, you know, that's definitely a bonus. I mean, the animations is not too bad at all, particularly for a one-man indie game. The animations actually pretty decent. More armor, by the looks of things. Right, we're kind of on the getting near the edge of this storm, so we want to sort of move in. It can be hard to tell if those enemies die or not, because they, even after you've killed them, they sort of stay standing for a couple of seconds after, which is, I don't really understand why that's there, but it's there nevertheless. We'll have a look in this house, see what we can find. Yeah, the scope's pretty good too. It's very handy. It makes for much better shooting from a distance. There you go. And it seems to do more damage too. I mean, the addition of the items and things like that is it's a nice little take on it, because it, you know, it encourages you to basically explore as much of the map as you possibly can before the storm really begins to take over. So it's definitely worth it in that sense. It adds a certain level of depth to it, because it seems to make a difference. Like, I mean, the scope does make a huge difference. It makes it much easier to fire from a distance, and then of course these hunter rings increase the ammo dropped, so that'd be even handier again. And that was one enemy that just didn't do anything, just stood there, which is generally, when that happens, is something to do with the code, with their AI. Sometimes if you have a lot of characters in one map and they're all connected to the same line of code for AI, it can cause them to get stuck like that, where they actually just do nothing. So that could be the very cause of that, but I can't say for sure. I mean, it's a solid enough shooter. I mean, it's different, I'll grant it that. The shooting's pretty spot on, but again, there's no additional weapons by the looks of things, which is very disappointing. It is something that will be expected, where, you know, other weapons be, you know, and if it's a case of more weapons do get introduced into the game, I'd like to see specifically vampire themed sort of weapons, you know, like something like Van Helsing's crossbow, you know, or you know, a stake gun or something like that, where you know it shoots out stakes and instead of bullets or something along those lines, or shotgun with splinters or something like that. You know, it just to keep it with the theme, because the actual rounds are UV rounds, which are basically UV rays, which instantly kills vampires. The old storm's really starting to shrink in now. Okay. Here another dog. No, I think I'll take the scope back, please. There we go. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with the code somewhere where the enemies are not doing anything at certain points. They just sort of get stuck, and from experience myself, that I found that tends to happen if you have if you have a lot of enemies on the one map, exactly the same code, that can happen. So whether that's the cause of it here, I can't say for certain, but I reckon it might be something to do. It's getting a big crowd around here. Yeah, I mean it's a neat concept. Without a doubt, it's a very neat concept. One that has actually got a lot of potential, because this hasn't been done before. Yes, it has many similarities to so many others, but it's not been done like this. And there is a whole lot of possibilities and directions that this game will go, depending on what the developer wants to do, of course. I mean, it could just stay as a sort of just shooter, I suppose, as it is. What does that do? Oh, it makes them easier to see. They could go for a more of a sort of campaign. You know, different levels, different front lines to take out. You know, the further they go, the more powerful enemies come into it, and all that kind of thing. That's another possibility. Those dogs actually do a lot of damage. And I just got blown up. So basically you gain what looks to be experience depending on your accuracy, where you've placed, how many enemies you killed, headshots, all that kind of thing, and basically you level up in accordance to that. And I can tell so far the only thing that actually unlocks by leveling up is just a new level. I think what I'd like to see is, you know, if there are to be new weapons, you know, maybe make new weapons unlock as the time, like, you know, as you level up, like, you know, level 2 you get maybe a different weapon, or, you know, something along those lines. As far as first impressions go, yeah, it's fun enough. I mean, it's a bit novel with how it's been designed so far. I mean, it doesn't seem to have any longevity to it. You know, it's something that you'd play it just maybe once off, or you know, you come back to it once in a while just to kill time. If it's to have any longevity, it needs to use its level up system and introduce new things with that level up system, be it new levels, new game modes, or new weapons or something. It needs to add something more than just, you know, what it is so far. But I really like to see something quite ambitious being done with it. But again, you know, it is a one-man dev team, so there's only so much that they can do. But overall, yeah, it's a fun idea. It has a ton of potential, and you know, if you like this style of game and would like to play it on a single player level where you're against bots, then it might be something to keep an eye out from, or keep an eye out for, I should say. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.